My name is Halid Shokunbi. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I have a doctorate in physical therapy. I'm a physical therapist, and I'm the 2012 Optimum Nutrition's $100,000 Transformation Contest Grand Prize winner. When I set out to do the contest, there was no stopping me. I mean, flat out. I knew I was going to make the transformation. I wanted to, be the guy who pulls his pants out like that. I wanted to, just show other people that it can be done. You don't have to do anything crazy. Me going, lifting weights, it goes back to I can remember 7th grade. I had a pair of 10-pound dumbbells, and I just lift them. I didn't know what I was doing. And it actually worked, got a little baby muscle and everything. So, I always show that off, go to, school, things like that. So I played, basketball and football, from, throughout grade school and high school. So I was I'm always usually in decent shape. Then 2012, 2011, sorry, I had a lot of injuries. Just from, working out, from playing sports. And the injuries by themselves weren't that bad, but, combine them together, that's what made it, pretty hard on my body. And I couldn't do the same workouts I was used to. I was just frustrated. Didn't really know how to deal with them, mentally, and so I just gave up. I was I'm not gonna lift, and I don't care. And I just got away from even trying to eat right. I just kind of let myself go. And it happened pretty quickly, and I didn't even realize how bad it got. But then it's you get to a point where, you just are just you're disappointed in what you see. Just kind of depressing. And, instead of, crying about it and, feeling sorry for myself, I decided I'm gonna make a change. I can't live like this, so I need to work around these injuries, just work out, smarter and then go hard at it. And then I saw there was a contest, so that was even more motivation.
So dance, while I put you in a trance, let's party, peace, and equality, let's stay together, let's live in harmony. Time, the new astrology, pick the nation with the group.
My overall approach and philosophy with training is, just the general guidelines for bodybuilding and weight training. I start most days with, the heavy lifts, they use more compound movements, like, the bench press or squats, things like that. I usually go 3 sets for each exercise. I try and do 10 reps, and then, maybe increase the weight. And then if I increase the weight, then I can, go lower in reps. But I try and do usually as most weight as I can do for 10 reps. Next set, most weight I can do for 8 reps, and so on and so forth. The main thing is, for me, that I found was being consistent, when I was in my younger days, I would work out, but I just wasn't as consistent, and I didn't get the results as quick. But once I started going consistently, 3 to 5 times a week, then I started seeing results. So I've also started doing a little lighter weight with higher repetitions, just working different rep ranges. But I usually do that towards the end of a regular workout, which would be a heavy workout. I would have a split, Mondays would be chest and biceps per se, and then the next day would be something with the lower body, quads and calves, or things like that. But what I really do now to avoid injuries, I kind of listen to my body. So if I go into the gym, and normally I would do hamstrings, but let's say my hamstring tendon has been irritating me, just even when I was doing regular things throughout the day, then I might lay off hamstrings, maybe push that with a back workout or something, or just push it off for a whole week. So my splits really kind of get jumbled up, but you gotta listen to your body, so you can't just keep working through the pain. You gotta be smart about it. I definitely like to train my back. That's my favorite body part. I used to not even train my back at all, then I just started doing it. I kept getting stronger. It's one of those muscles where you can't see it while you're working out. Pumping up the lats, things like that. I love all the exercises for the back. Cardio. I'm not a big fan of cardio, but it does its job. So for cardio, I usually, for the contest, I was definitely doing cardio 4 to 5 times a week towards the last half of the contest. But initially, I started ramping up the cardio, the frequency of which I did it. So I would start maybe twice a week, and then next week bump it up to 3. And also increasing the duration I was doing the cardio. I always would aim to not necessarily do 45 minutes of cardio. I would aim to like burn at least like 400 calories or 400 to 450. And usually I would get to the calorie goal before I got to the goal of 45 minutes. And high intensity training, I kind of did that like if I was like short on time and then I needed to burn some calories, then I would do it. Rest days, those were great because all I did was rest. I didn't work out or anything. To keep myself motivated in the gym on the days when I probably don't feel like going and the days when I'm tired, after a long day of work, I use music. I have some nice headphones. They have deep bass. I put on my jams and it gets me pumped. And I mean, I'm like one of those guys who's like bopping his head and a curse word might come out here and there, as I'm singing the song. So, the music gets me going. So as long as I got my headphones and my MP3 player, we're all good. Well, my take on nutrition was that I didn't want to do anything that was crazy, anything that I couldn't keep up with, So I'm not a numbers guy. I don't count. For each meal, I'm not going to be like, all right, wait, this is how many grams. I can't do that. I go crazy. So what I did was I just kind of guess. So I have like a high, protein, food like chicken or something like that. And then I would like trying to keep the carbs to a minimum. And then also for carbs, I would try and eat carbs that wouldn't spike my blood sugar. That was pretty much what I stuck with in terms like the numbers. Now the actual foods that I ate, I think I ate a lot of like normal people foods. I'll say, I can't just eat chicken and vegetables. I can do that every once in a while, but I can't do that for every meal. So like I would try and eat regular people food, like spaghetti. I ate a lot of Mexican food, but I would just make it healthier. So I would like swap out the high glycemic type of foods for something that was a little bit lower, and then a whole lot of protein with it. So. And I think that really made it a lot easier for me to keep up with it. And it is very possible to eat healthy and eat foods that are good for you, but still eat the foods that you enjoy. You just may have to get a little creative. You may have to, do a little research. On Bodybuilding.com, there's plenty of recipes on there. All over the internet, you can find like your favorite dish. Just swap out some ingredients, and boom, you have the same dish. Pretty good taste, but with much better nutrition. The hardest part was like that I had to prepare, my food on my own, so I didn't go out and buy like cooked foods or go out to restaurants too often. So I like breakfast food, and breakfast is pretty easy because it's like you got the eggs, so I would do egg whites, but I was really missing pancakes, like going out and getting pancakes and things like that. So I would like try either protein pancakes. I tried sweet potato pancakes, and it actually tasted pretty good. I'm a big fan of cheat meals. You work hard throughout the week, in the gym and outside the gym, meaning eating clean and eating the right foods. So allowing yourself a cheat meal, whether it's 2 to 3 cheat meals a week, do it. You deserve it. It's not gonna like kill you so bad where you're gonna start gaining weight. Just don't go overboard. Don't eat like 2,000 calories in one cheat meal. My cravings for a cheat meal really change from week to week. There are some weeks where I just wanted like a sub or something, or a Philly cheesesteak. What I usually crave is like hearty meals that, the heartburn type of meals, So when you're dealing with cravings, what you gotta do is you have to think about why you're doing this. Think about what you're doing it for. Think about the end goal that you want. Picture it, talk to other people who have the same goals in mind, and that helps you, stave off those cravings. I know with supplements, I used to think that supplements were the key. Like, oh, I need to figure out what this person is taking. So I don't know how he got so ripped. It's unbelievable. It's not even possible. It had to been taking some type of magic pill or something like that. But it's not. Supplements are just supplements. If the key to changing your physique and achieving your goal is 70% of it's going to be your diet, and then the other part is going to be, the exercise. Supplements will help you achieve those goals, but they won't do all the work for you. The other thing with, supplements, just don't take it just because Joe Schmo said he's taking it. Know how that supplement's supposed to work, you know what that supplement is supposed to do, because just because this person's taking it doesn't mean that supplement is good for you for your goals. You know, you just got to be smart about it. And I would always use a supplement for a reason. I definitely would recommend whey protein. You know, you got to have the whey protein. It's gonna, no matter what your goal is, well, at least for bodybuilding, if you're trying to, you know, cut the fat or build muscle, you got to have the whey protein to achieve, you know, a good physique. You know, when you're cutting and you're in the presence of a calorie deficit, the whey protein is going to help you keep the muscle that you have while you're, you know, cutting the fat away. And if you're building muscle, obviously you got to have the right building blocks to build the muscle, and then that's where protein is going to come in. So for the contest, I initially started with creatine for, you know, like the first maybe 4 to 6 weeks, you know, just to help with the energy, because, you know, I've been out the gym for so long, you know, I wanted to be able to, you know, have a good amount of energy to actually, you know, complete a workout. So I'll use the creatine for that. Throughout the whole thing, I always use whey. That's a given. And then I started using, you know, a pre-workout here and there on days, you know, I was like, you know, tired and maybe it was dragging myself to the gym, you know, just to, you know, get a little bit more pep in my step, as you might say. And then I also used like a slow digesting protein, casein, at night, you know, just since, you know, I was not eating for a couple hours. Oh, I also started using branched chain amino acids. I love those because, I mean, they do so much for you. They give you energy, you know, for your muscles, and they also, you know, help prevent muscle breakdown, especially when you're exercising. So, especially when I was doing cardio, I would, you know, sip that throughout the cardio session, and also when I was weightlifting. But, you know, I usually worked out late at night, so, you know, I didn't like to have too much, like, you know, supplements with caffeine. So that's why I really like the branched chain amino acids. I was able to get a good, you know, supplement for energy without, you know, keeping me up at night. Honestly, I learned a lot about supplements through Bodybuilding.com over the years, you know, and they have a lot of articles. I mean, there's really no excuse not to know what a supplement is supposed to be doing for you, so that's a good resource for people to use. So that's it, that's my story. That's all the information about my training, nutrition, and supplementation. If you want more information, you can find me on BodySpace. My username is Shokunbi. All right, if you're looking for a goal to work towards and you need more motivation, check out Bodybuilding.com for the latest contests. I mean, you can even win some prize money or different prizes, so it helped me and it should help you. For more videos, articles, and content like this, keep coming here to Bodybuilding.com.